So we're here today to talk a couple minutes about Robert Hutton III, who passed last month. He was a U.S. Navy sailor and a boater all his life. And I've got a couple of things here from Beverly, his wife and now widow, to tell a little bit about Robert. She wrote, he was an honest-to-goodness white hat, and he served on the USS Mole, which is M-O-A-L-E, just for a point of clarification. It was a tin can. He was a radar man and spent most of his time in the Mediterranean. He was a short-timer who went into the Navy to grow up, and he did. He was, later in life, he was the commander of the Portsmouth Power Squadron and loved the sea and all that floated upon it. Beverly, by the way, was the first woman Commodore of the Nanticoke River Boat Club, and in just a minute we're going to raise the Nanticoke Boat Club Burgee here at the Dunedin Boat Club, where we want to welcome them into our family.
My legs are like this right now.
Yeah. So again, I just want to explain what we're going to do today with the raising of the Burgee. This is one of the longest running traditions, not only in America, but especially with the United States Navy. And there's a couple connections between his father-in-law and the Navy that I think are important to mention. First of all, he said he was just a seaman. Whether you realize it or not, the backbone of the Navy back then, as it is today, is not the admirals, it's not the captains. It's that seaman with the three stripes and the single little crescent. They're the ones who make the Navy happen. The reason why Burgees happened at all, and again, how far back this goes back to medieval times, because every family had a family crest. And every time you would go into a household, or if there was a local area that represented all the government, all the households would bring their family crests and fly them, so you knew who were members of the community. As people started moving from the land onto the ships, they took their family crests and they became and eventually morphed into being Burgees. So that's how the boat clubs then decided to do it. Every Burgee represented a local boat club, and it became a tradition to exchange Burgees between one community and the other. But let's talk about the Navy for a second. Whether people realize it or not, the United States Navy is the oldest military branch in history. It predates the Army. It even predates the signing of the Declaration of Independence, because it was started in July of 1775, particularly because of a request that was made by the states of Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Maine, where your father-in-law is from. They went to the Continental Congress in Philadelphia and requested help because not only the Barbary pirates, but the British men of war were coming down and disrupting the trade ships that were coming along the coast. So we came and they asked the federal government, the fledgling Continental Congress, to help them. And what out of it was a promise from the local Continental Congress. And interestingly enough, the first captain of the first ship to go was John Paul Jones. They bought 3 schooners, turned them into mans of war, and brought them up and fought the British for the first time. That was long before the first shot was fired during the Revolutionary War. Okay? For years, Psalm 107 was a psalm that was told in the churches, talking about saving the men and protecting men who go to sea, not only to fight, but to bring back sustenance and to trade and things of that sort. In 1860, the Navy hymn was written because of, whether people realize it or not, long before the Civil War became a ground war, it was a water-based war. So all of the original fighting happened on the water between the North and the South. The Navy hymn was sung every single time that a man of war would leave the dock. Every time that there was a burial at sea, anytime that there was a funeral or recognition of something great, the Navy hymn was sung. It's called Eternal Father, Strong to Save. All right? So in honor, what we're going to do is we're going to raise this Burgee while we're playing the Navy hymn. And this is something, again, that we have been doing since 1775. And again, the first time this was played was in 1860. So grab the halyard,